My name's Damon Hills, Associate Director at Finnis. This project celebrates the heritage of an existing shopfront while exploring a mixed-use typology which combines commercial tenancy with a two-bedroom home in a tight site in Albert Park. We aim to explore what makes an office and what makes a home, with the project also providing a unique opportunity to add to the street character of this strip in Albert Park. This is the client's primary residence and is also home to his business, where they work and can entertain clients. The project explores the relationship of work, rest and play, which is not only topical typology, but one that we believe is crucial for our inner city suburbs to explore. The site faces a commercial shopping strip as well as a rear laneway, which is the start of a residential zone. Victoria Avenue is essentially a series of retail villages stretching from the light rail to the beach, interlinked with single and small apartment residential areas. The commercial zoning does not have a height limit, but it does have a setback line from Victoria Avenue and impact on residential areas, which limits these. The front faces west with city views and bay glimpses. The rear looks over the neighbourhood residential areas and the bay in the distance. This is an absolutely built for purpose building. The client wanted to set a permanent base in the area that defined the company that they are, and as a showpiece to bring and entertain clients. In this way, the bottom two levels of the project are their offices, with the top level being a two-bedroom residence. Each of the zones were mapped out by job description and purpose. The goal for the project was to create a form that had a pure and clean aesthetic, which contrasted and highlighted the commercial heritage fabric of the main street facing facades of Albert Park, while seeking to harmoniously intertwine with the residential street and wider neighbourhood to the rear. The key challenges on this site were the combination of commercial residential interfaces, the heritage setbacks balanced against impact on residents and the facade, and the soil conditions. We initially had a plan which included a basement, but due to the soil conditions, which included basically a river running through the sands underneath, we couldn't proceed with that. However, the client still required the space we had lost. Council came to the party on reduced car parking, which was quite good in this area, i.e. don't provide car parking and people won't drive. We then went in with a fourth story to council, but a compromise with heritage allowed us to reduce the setbacks on each level to maintain the floor area that we needed to satisfy the program. The two key feature external materials were the dark brick to the residential interface and the expanded mesh to the expanded commercial interface. Dark colours do scare people, but they're also quite recessive. The expanded mesh gives the commercial facade texture, but also transparency. It also shades the west-facing windows. The brick wall to the rear references the residential context and craft scene in heritage homes in this context, although in a different palette. With a narrow boundary-to-boundary construction, the location of the spaces and their access to light were critical to avoid the feeling of a dark rabbit warren. In this section, you'll see the shaded in blue, the area dedicated to commercial space. This is a single tenant building with three separate commercial areas, being the public face on the ground, the executive and boardroom with access to the terrace, and finally the open plan office to the rear. So on the ground floor, this is Victoria Avenue. This is the entry with a meeting space, a series of offices, staff kitchen, amenities, server, central core, bike storage, car parking. And on the first floor, a terrace facing Victoria Avenue, boardroom, director's assistants, copy space, the core again, more office space, amenities, and then the open plan office to the rear. The next couple of slides are just a few internal images of the executive wing and the terrace and the stair. In this section, the area shaded orange is the area dedicated to the residents. The apartment is a pragmatic layout with living off the terrace, secondary bedrooms off light ports and the master to the rear, with views over the residential interface. The service spaces are central to the plan where there is little access to natural light. So just going through that plan, we've got the office terrace below, the residential terrace, the living and study space, kitchen, bathroom, master and ensuite. We worked with Kylie D'Alessandro of Huntress for the interiors and also the external palette and terraces. It was important that the interiors reflected the office typology, but also reflected the client and a place that he could call home. Compact spaces gather depth from layers, textures, light play, and pattern. This project explores mixed-use typology with commercial and residential, but in a much smaller scale than we're used to dealing with. The vision for the client was to have a long-term base within the inner Bayside bubble, but also a place for the interstate and international clients to stay when they're in town. In the end, though, due to the times we're in, it became his home. This was built through the pandemic, and this typology almost flips the work from home we've been accustomed to, perhaps home at work.